In a flash of brilliant energy, a determined Weiss desperately calls out for someone to wait for him. His thoughts are fixed on one person, Lily. Below, a crystalline dragon's eye glints with pink light. As Weiss unleashes a torrent of magic against the roaring dragon, a voice reflects on her dad's incredible power, a force that is the envy of everyone. Weiss lunges forward, vowing with all his might that he will save her. He directs his power towards the dragon's maw. The scene shifts to the grim, desolate streets of Zenis, known as the City of Villains. It's a place described as being off the map and the closest city to hell on Earth. The city's unsavory inhabitants look on as a dispute turns violent. A man on the ground is being berated by another. Onlookers react with confusion to the commotion. A confident man strides through the crowd, parting them with his presence. The onlookers recognize him immediately. It's Weiss. Weiss's attention is caught by a small chained girl sitting in the dirt. He observes her distinct features, aqua-colored hair and ears that point upward. A thought strikes him: could she be a high elf? An old text describes high elves as a subspecies unknown to the public, distinguished by their beautiful light blue hair and upward-pointing ears. This group, said to be extinct long ago, was able to use all kinds of magic in the world. Weiss recalls reading about high elves in an ancient book, believing them to be a fairy tale until now. He wonders what she is doing in a place like Zenis. His thoughts are interrupted by a large man calling him a scumbag. The large man, a slave trader, greets Weiss and asks how his day was. Weiss notes the trader seems busy with many slaves and asks if he sold much. Weiss explains that slaves require food and supervision, so it is inefficient to buy too many at once. The trader explains that after the inhabitants of the mansion on the hill were recently killed, he has a lot of new merchandise, to which Weiss casually admits fault. Weiss is shocked and demands the worker repeat what he said. The crying worker explains they're closed because the owner is gone and he can't make the secret recipe deep-fried chicken. He elaborates that the owner, a rare good cook in Zenis, was attacked and taken by the men from the hill to be a slave for life. Furious, Weiss grabs the worker, calling him useless for just watching it happen, while the worker protests that he was helpless. He laments that this was the only place in Zenis to get fried chicken, and the worker agrees he has no choice. Gritting his teeth, Weiss decides he has no choice but to handle it himself. At the mansion, Weiss confronts one of the men responsible, trapping him in a magic circle. The terrified man asks what Weiss is doing, to which Weiss coldly asks if he thinks he can get away with it. Weiss explains that in a lawless place like Zenis, there is no God to judge. As the freed cook watches in terror over the unconscious bodies of his captors, he lets out a scream. The rescued cook gratefully asks how he can repay Weiss, who simply tells him to open the shop tomorrow. The cook readily agrees. Weiss spots cells for slaves in the mansion's basement. Inside one cell, the small elf girl sits alone. In that place, there were a lot of slaves locked behind bars. Weiss hadn't realized the extent of it, and the trader explains that after the incident, thieves found the slaves and he couldn't handle such a large number alone. The trader continues, explaining they had to split the slaves up among different merchants. Weiss acknowledges this as he processes the information. His gaze falls upon the sad face of the young elf girl. The trader mentions that at least 4 have been sold this morning, but 1 is still left. He complains that while beautiful elf girls find buyers easily, this one is useless to him. Weiss states that it's because her hair has a strange color and her ears are deformed. Weiss internally notes that her condition is probably the work of the mansion owner, who is likely using her for experiments. He knows that if she is a high elf, she could be worth millions, but a man like the trader would never know her true value. The trader muses that he doesn't know what to do with her, suggesting he might just throw her on the street or let her become food for wild dogs. He laughs, thinking that might make her happier. Hearing this, Weiss asks how much she costs. The trader is taken aback, asking if Weiss is really thinking of buying her, to which Weiss simply demands a price. Weiss confirms his interest depends on the price, but the trader insists he can find better options for his brother. The girl listens as the trader calls her useless. Weiss repeats the trader's slur in his head. He puts on a friendly facade, telling the trader he'll take the leftover, as he's always wanted to help his business. The trader is overjoyed by the generous offer. The trader suggests 250 Zenis, but offers a discount to 220. To his delight, Weiss offers 300 instead. The trader showers Weiss with flattery, calling him the best brother, but Weiss tells him to stop. Weiss tells him to take off her chains, and the trader complies immediately. The heavy collar falls away with a clatter. The trader unlocks the collar and tells her they can go. The girl remains standing, completely unresponsive. Weiss observes that even though she's been freed, she has no reaction at all. Weiss wonders what horrors she must have seen to become so broken, her consciousness seemingly dead. He kneels before her, gets her attention, and tells her it's time to go. The girl looks up at Weiss with hollow eyes. Weiss sighs softly. He extends his gloved hand to her, and she slowly reaches out and takes it. He tells her they'll take a walk. The trader thanks him for the purchase as Weiss leads the girl away, acknowledging to himself that he acted on impulse and has no idea how to be a parent. Holding her small hand, Weiss walks with the girl through the dark, crowded streets, reflecting that being a father for the first time is like walking blind in the dark. Back at his home, Weiss tries to choose a name for her, suggesting Melody. He continues with Eisen, Josephine, and Mont Blanc. He sits across from the silent girl, feeling unconvinced by his own suggestions as she remains unresponsive. He continues listing names: Leonore, Luna, Christine, Elise. He asks her what name she would like, wondering if she is unable or unwilling to speak. He questions if she simply doesn't understand his words. Weiss realizes that his first task must be to teach her how to talk. He concludes that the girl likely has no sense of self, having been a slave since birth, which explains why she doesn't say anything. In an internal monologue, Weiss admits to himself that he is not a good person, and that all he can do is destroy and kill. He believes that he doesn't care what happens to strangers, and that having a sense of justice is pointless. He believes that no single person can make everyone happy. But despite this cynical outlook, he admits that seeing such things bothers him. This feeling is his personal measure of right and wrong. He decides he won't raise her as a slave, but as his daughter, though he must first help her become conscious of herself. He affirms his decision. He resolves that the first words she says will be a commemorative name. All right, he thinks, gently patting the girl on the head. He kneels down and tells her with a smile that from this day forward, he is her dad. He asks if she understands. He begins the lesson, pointing to himself and saying he is dad. Then he points to her, calling her daughter and asking if she gets it. The girl just stares blankly, a hint of awareness in her eyes. He looks at her, waiting for a response. Sitting on the floor before her, Weiss looks up at the still silent girl and wonders what he should do now, realizing this is a daunting task. This is the story of how Weiss came to be a dad. Reality hits hard and fast as he wakes up to find the girl has wet the bed, realizing the road ahead will be tough. Weiss recalls the previous night's incident where his new daughter, the elf slave he had bought, wet the bed. With a weary sigh, he acknowledges the reality of his new situation. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Weiss blames himself, realizing he should have taken her to the toilet before bed. He had impulsively bought her thinking it wouldn't be too much trouble to care for one elf child. He now understands that for him, raising a child is completely uncharted territory. He likens his situation to challenging the lowest level of an unexplored dungeon without any equipment. He feels he may have underestimated the challenge. Coming back to his senses, he decides to postpone thinking of a name for her and focus on the immediate tasks at hand. Weiss tells the girl that she stinks and that first, they need a bath. The girl is startled by the hot water, her first reaction to the new sensations. Weiss laughs, telling the girl she looks like a ghost with her wet hair covering her face. As he starts to wash her hair, he's dismayed to find it full of debris and wonders if this is the first time she's ever had a bath. He tries to make it fun by styling her soapy hair into various shapes, but she remains completely expressionless. Seeing that she isn't even smiling, he realizes the challenging times that lie ahead. A scream of frustration echoes from the house. After the bath, Weiss is struck by a terrible realization. He completely forgot that she has no clothes to wear, not even underwear. The girl stands silently, wrapped in a large towel. Weiss decides this will have to suffice for now. He tells her he will buy her some clothes first thing in the morning. Weiss carries the girl upstairs, letting her know there's a second floor. He shows her to a room with a large, fluffy bed, and proudly tells her that this is where she'll sleep from now on. Exhausted from the day, Weiss gets into bed and yawns, asking the girl if they should just sleep. But as he sits up, another oversight hits him. He realizes she hasn't eaten yet. Weiss checks his pantry, only to find mountains of alcohol and nothing but dry bread. Since he can't take her out to eat, he prepares a simple meal. He prepares dried meat and bread, lamenting that he doesn't have a proper child's menu and wondering if she will eat it. He seats the girl at the table but finds she's too low to reach it. He tells her to wait a bit while he gets something for her to sit on. Once seated properly, she immediately begins to devour the food ravenously. Watching her eat, Weiss feels a pang of guilt and apologizes, realizing how hungry she must have been. He wonders about the life she's lived and promises her that from now on, there will be even better food. The next day, Weiss prepares to go shopping, making sure she has a drink, the fire is out, and all dangerous items are put away. He tells her that Papa is going out for a bit and that she will be house-sitting. He doubts she understands him, but he has no other choice. He has taken every precaution, setting up magical barriers to prevent her from getting to the stairs or the kitchen, and even casting a softening spell on the floor. After leaving the house, Weiss casts one final spell for good measure. He creates an intrusion prevention barrier around the entire property and yells that he will be right back before running off. Weiss arrives at a clothing shop in a dilapidated part of town. He bursts in, calling for someone named Yahello. A female elf shopkeeper turns and greets him. The shopkeeper, Yahello, asks what's wrong, and Weiss declares that he needs to buy children's clothes. Shocked, Yahello asks who he kidnapped, but Weiss clarifies that he bought a leftover elf child slave. Yahello teases him, asking if he's into little girls, which he vehemently denies, insisting it was just a whim. Getting serious, he explains the girl has no clothes. Admitting he knows nothing about children's clothing, he asks Yahello to put a set together for him. Yahello asks if he plans to buy out her entire store, noting that with 5 gold coins, he could buy many outfits. Weiss feigns ignorance of market prices, which Yahello finds strange given his usual knowledge. He offers her the money, telling her to make something good and keep the change. When Yahello asks for the girl's age, Weiss can only gesture vaguely to indicate her size. Despite the lack of information, Yahello agrees to put something together and deliver it. She eagerly closes her shop for the day to get started on the project. Weiss returns home, calling out that he's back. He rushes in, asking the girl if she has been good. He finds her sitting on the couch, exactly where he left her, not having moved an inch. Seeing that she didn't move a single step, Weiss sets down his groceries and decides what to do next. Rolling up his sleeves, he tells her to wait, boasting that while he doesn't normally cook, he can if he tries. He proudly presents a warm meal, asking if it looks good. He gets her attention, ready to teach her something new. He begins to teach her how to eat with utensils, showing her a spoon. He demonstrates how to scoop the food. He gently brings a spoonful of the meal to the girl's lips, offering it to her. The girl accepts the food, a small, happy expression on her face. Relieved and pleased, Weiss encourages her, telling her she's doing a good job and to eat lots. Weiss contemplates making scrambled or fried eggs for breakfast. He finally settles on the idea of making ham and eggs with bread. Weiss is taken aback when he sees the elf girl up and about. The little elf girl looks up at him, having woken up by herself. He worriedly asks if she's hurt, surprised because she has never tried to walk alone before. He gently pats her head, still trying to understand what's happening. Weiss patiently shows her how to hold the fork properly. With some encouragement, she begins to eat by herself. She happily takes a bite, managing the fork on her own. Although they can't have a full conversation yet, her newfound activeness is a huge step. Weiss smiles, filled with pride as he watches her grow day by day. He internally questions why he feels this way. The source of his joy is simply seeing her become more aware. He feels an overwhelming sense of happiness watching her at the table. Weiss bursts into a tavern, shouting that he has great news. The patrons are startled by the commotion. He leans on the counter, eager to share his news with the elf woman. He proudly declares that the little girl ate all by herself. The woman remarks on his outfit, but Weiss demands she be surprised by his news. He explains his clothes are dirty from doing chores that morning. He excitedly tells them that she walked by herself and sat down in the chair. His friends celebrate the milestone with him, with one commenting that his love must be the reason for her progress. Weiss dismisses the idea of love, saying he doesn't think he did anything special. The bartender looks on with a knowing expression. He tells Weiss that just by looking at him, it's clear he has become a true father figure, even if Weiss only sees it as raising her as his daughter. Weiss holds up a card, sounding out the letter for her. The little girl tries her best to copy the sound. He joyfully embraces her, cheering that she did a great job. He praises her amazing memory and tells her they should keep going. They continue practicing various sounds together. The little girl makes an attempt at a new word. Weiss listens patiently. She tries to sound out the word, but struggles with some of the syllables. Weiss observes that she's having trouble with the R sound, but decides she's done more than enough for one day. He declares that they're done for the day and it's time to eat. She surprises him by getting down and toddling over to her chair on her own. The little girl sits properly at the table, waiting. Weiss enthusiastically announces he's going to cook something wonderful. He gets to work deciding what to make. Elves are a highly intelligent race, and high elves are even smarter. Looking at a picture book, she correctly identifies a cat. Weiss is amazed that she can already read, as she continues to name other animals. He reflects that his plan to name her after her first word is harder than he thought, as simple sounds or complex words are not suitable. She points at a hippopotamus, though the word is too complex to be a name. She continues to excitedly name animals from the book, showing her love for them. She spots a picture of a camel and tries to say the word. She shouts "Camu" with excitement, and Weiss laughs, telling her it was a good try. A shopkeeper asks if they are looking for a book about animals. The little girl excitedly asks for animas. Weiss confirms she really wants an illustrated book for kids. However, the shopkeeper explains that he doesn't have any animal books for sale. Weiss asks if there might be at least one illustrated book in the large, messy pile. The shopkeeper says he can't find anything in the mess due to his bad back and tells them to return later. Weiss considers the situation and proposes a solution. With the little girl in his arms, he declares that he will help. With a surge of magic, the books begin to fly and sort themselves. As they do, the little girl excitedly points and says "bird," and Weiss plays along. The shopkeeper watches in disbelief, as his entire inventory is neatly organized in seconds. The shopkeeper asks what kind of magic that was, and Weiss simply tells him to start searching. With no other choice, the shopkeeper agrees to look for the book they requested. She happily clutches her new book. As they walk home, Weiss is glad they found one and promises to read it to her before bed. While she's preoccupied, Weiss starts preparing dinner, deciding on stew. She eagerly examines the pictures in her new book. She looks at the book with sparkling eyes. As he cooks, Weiss thoughtfully says the name he has chosen for her, Lily. Weiss is caught completely by surprise. He whips his head around in disbelief. Looking at her book, the little girl clearly says the name Lily. He realizes with astonishment that she correctly pronounced the L sound she had been struggling with. He looks over and sees that the author's name on the book is Lily Red. She repeats the name, proud of her pronunciation. Weiss laughs, realizing it was just a lucky guess on his part. The name Lily on the cover seems to confirm his choice. Weiss smiles, deciding the name is a good fit. He officially tells her that her name will be Lily. He joyfully lifts her into the air, proclaiming her to be his daughter, Lily Frenberg. This is the story of how her name was chosen, and she quickly began to learn, showcasing the intellect of a high elf. Lily happily announces her arrival. With her smile, she became a healing presence and very popular, though Weiss remained fiercely protective of her. Now she confidently orders for herself and her dad, much to the amusement and admiration of the patrons. Lily is growing day by day. His friends smile warmly, watching her. Weiss looks on with a fond, if slightly resigned, expression. On a beautiful sunny day, Lily sits happily on her father's shoulders, exclaiming her delight. Weiss agrees with Lily, adding that the son must surely love her as well. Lily is overjoyed by his words, while Weiss cautions her not to let go of his hands. They set off together, with Lily humming a happy tune. Weiss and Lily arrive at a clothing shop. Lily excitedly announces her arrival to a blonde elf named Yahello, who welcomes the energetic child with a warm hug. Weiss apologizes for visiting so frequently, but Yahello assures him they're always welcome. When Weiss explains they're only looking today, Yahello teases him for becoming such a strict father, which Lily happily confirms. Weiss vehemently denies being a foolish father, insisting his strict rules are for Lily's own good. He proudly declares himself a perfect father, though Yahello looks on with doubt. Changing the subject, Weiss suddenly announces to a stunned Yahello that he plans on leaving the town of Zenis next month. Weiss explains that there are things a father cannot teach and that Zenis is a poor environment for Lily to make friends. He reveals his plan to go back to the capital and send Lily to school. Yahello is shocked to learn he's from the capital and asks why he came to a place like Zenis. Weiss vaguely admits that he ran away from the Ministry of Magic, leaving Yahello to wonder what he did. Inside the shop, Lily sadly holds up a dress she likes. Weiss gently reminds her of their promise not to buy anything today. However, one look at Lily's teary, pleading eyes is enough to make him reconsider. He frantically yells at Yahello to take his money, while Yahello thinks that sending Lily to school is a good idea. As they prepare to leave, Yahello gives them city-style clothes for Lily and some snacks for the road. Weiss thanks Yahello and her companion for all their help as they wish him well. Yahello admits she feels uncomfortable when he is away. Weiss explains that Zenis is full of villains and its stability was largely due to him crushing anyone he disliked. Yahello tells Weiss to call her if he gets into trouble, though she doesn't care what happens to Zenis. Weiss reassures her that he's willing to come back if it's to help her. His words leave Yahello blushing and flustered. Yahello's companion wonders if this is a declaration, but Weiss clarifies it's just a thank you, since Lily would be naked without their help. Weiss tells Yahello to take care. Yahello is left speechless for a moment. As they part ways, Lily calls out a final goodbye to Yahello. Lily thanks her again for the clothes, and Yahello warmly replies that they'll look great, as Weiss tells Lily it's time to go. Weiss and Lily drive away, leaving Yahello and her companion to watch them go. A few days later, Lily asks why they aren't in the carriage, and Weiss explains they're almost there. He asks if she's tired from the long trip, but she happily insists that traveling with her dad is fun. Lily declares she can walk by herself, and Weiss tells her they'll see the capital once they exit the forest. She eagerly agrees, and Weiss reminds her to be careful not to trip. Upon exiting the forest, they are greeted by the magnificent sight of the capital city, leaving Lily speechless. Lily is awestruck by the huge wall surrounding it, and Weiss proudly tells her this is the city where he was born. He then gently asks if she can do what he asked, and a nervous Lily agrees to try her best. Lily marvels at the view of the vast city. Weiss reminds her to act well-behaved at the gate, and to say she was an orphan if asked, as access to the capital is strict. He explains that while he can get through, Lily is the problem, as the city is magically protected with limited entry points. Weiss knows that claiming she is his real daughter is implausible, and saying she's an orphan would require a certificate, but he must hide that she was a slave. If their secret is discovered, the consequences would be severe, as slave trafficking is a serious crime. Still, he believes he has a chance. He turns to Lily and asks her to please behave well. At the city gate, Lily is starstruck by the sight of a real soldier, much to Weiss's embarrassment. He apologetically approaches the guard and explains they wish to enter. When the guard asks for their names, Weiss introduces himself as Weiss Frenberg and Lily as his daughter. The guard pauses, finding the name Weiss Frenberg to be familiar. Having passed the first gate, Weiss asks if the Ministry of Magic has notified them of a search. He confidently tells the guards to contact Ziegline, the assistant to the minister, and inform her that Weiss is here. The guards are taken aback by the mention of someone as important as Ziegline Sama. As one of them rushes off to check, Lily asks who Ziegline is, and Weiss explains she is a friend of his. Lily curiously asks if this Ziegline is as nice as Yahello, and Weiss assures her that she is a kind person who will let them through. He privately thinks Ziegline will probably just see Lily as a fascinating study subject. The wait is long, and Weiss notices that Lily is getting tired and has fallen asleep in his arms. Weiss watches over Lily as she sleeps. He gently pokes her soft cheek. A fond, gentle smile crosses his face. He then pinches her cheek playfully. Suddenly, the guards snap to attention. A woman approaches Weiss and the sleeping Lily. She remarks how surprising it is to see him with a child, and asks if it's some sort of attack on her. Weiss retorts that she has no sense of humor, as usual, and asks if she still wears those big, boring glasses. The woman is Ziegline Floyd, assistant to the Minister of Magic. She has brought them to the reception office of the Grand Ministry of Magic building. Lily sleeps peacefully on a plush sofa in the reception office. Weiss relaxes and comments that the ministry seems to be making a lot of money. Ziegline dryly replies that they aren't a non-governmental organization. Weiss smirks, noting that neither of them seems to have changed, which prompts a confused Ziegline to question his use of the word us. Lily murmurs about wanting candy in her sleep. Ziegline watches her, momentarily silent. She quietly asks Weiss if Lily is his real daughter. Weiss points out Lily's elf ears, and Ziegline apologizes, admitting she was too nervous to notice. As Lily continues to dream of candy, Ziegline processes the new information. Ziegline suddenly stands up in shock, telling him to wait a moment. Weiss reveals that Lily is a high elf, teasing Ziegline for being a spellbook nerd. Ziegline excitedly asks if they really exist and wants to take Lily to the lab, but Weiss tells her to calm down. After Ziegline calms down, she listens to Weiss's story. Weiss explains that he was lucky to find Lily a year ago and has been raising her ever since. The reason he returned to the capital is to send her to school. He shares that Lily is an orphan who couldn't even smile for a whole year, and he wants her to have a normal childhood with friends. Weiss reflects on Lily's terrible past, stating his desire for her to be happy from now on. He looks at Ziegline with fierce determination, and as a father, earnestly begs for her help. Ziegline is left speechless and moved by his plea. Ziegline understands his reasoning. She agrees that their alma mater, the magic school of the capital, is the best environment for a high elf's education. She agrees to do what she can to get Lily enrolled next year, though she isn't excited about it. Weiss thanks her and says he has 2 more requests. He asks for a safe house and bodyguards, as Lily's true nature could put her in danger. Ziegline offers to arrange for soldiers from the ministry, but Weiss refuses, insisting he wants her people. He also wants the fact that Lily is a high elf to be kept a secret between them. Ziegline questions his reasoning, stating that a high elf is a national asset, but Weiss doesn't want to involve a child in adult issues or have her treated differently. Exasperated, Ziegline sighs. She remarks that he has always been a problem for her. Ziegline apologizes but agrees to his terms, promising a substantial reward. She asks what kind of reward he wants, and Weiss acknowledges the difficulties of her position. He offers to help her with her work, but only as a personal employee. Ziegline is taken aback by his unexpected offer to assist the Ministry of Magic unofficially. She warns him to be prepared, as she has many issues she can't bring to light and will make him work hard. Ziegline agrees to his proposal and declares that their first task is to find a house, telling him to follow her. Walking through the city streets, Weiss asks Ziegline how the capital has been after all this time. Ziegline notes that the city has changed a bit, a sentiment Weiss seems to question. She points out a magical artifacts shop that has moved, reminding Weiss that it's the one he was banned from. Ziegline recalls having to apologize after Weiss felt the magic of all the products and turned them off, much to his sheepish recollection. In a flashback, a younger Weiss expresses his skepticism about luxury magical artifacts, viewing them as a questionable business tactic. His curiosity gets the better of him, and with a simple touch, he causes a magical surge that deactivates everything in the store. Back in the present, Weiss tries to explain he was just trying it out, remembering the horrified reactions of Ziegline and the shopkeeper. Ziegline reveals that thanks to her wealthy family, Weiss's debt of 43 million Zenis was paid off just before he graduated. Weiss recalls all the hard work and missions he undertook after class to pay back that debt. Ziegline quietly dismisses his efforts, saying it was nothing. She then wistfully adds that if he had married her, he wouldn't have had to pay off the debt in the first place. Weiss, not having heard her properly, asks what she said. Ziegline quickly backtracks, claiming she was just impressed that he could pay off his debt while still a student. Soon after, Weiss announces their arrival at a grand mansion, leaving both Ziegline and Lily amazed. Ziegline wonders about the cost, but Weiss explains that since it's an unused ministry property, the rent is surprisingly affordable. Weiss questions if such a luxurious house is okay, to which Ziegline replies that she'll make him work like a dog. She calls it a future investment and invites them inside. Waking from her nap, Lily drowsily asks her dad where they are. Upon entering the spacious home, she asks if this is her new house. Lily excitedly calls out to her dad to look at something in their new home. Weiss informs Ziegline about their situation, mentioning that Lily is an elf with congenital anomalies. He adds that with subordinates living nearby, security won't be an issue, which Ziegline agrees is great. Lily makes herself comfortable, giggling as she flops onto a large pillow. Ziegline watches Lily sleeping peacefully on the couch. She asks Weiss if Lily, being an orphan, has a mother figure. Ziegline posits that it's better for a child's education to have both parents present. Weiss acknowledges that she has a point, but feels there is nothing he can do. He explains that he doesn't currently have a wife or a girlfriend. Hearing this, Ziegline's mind begins to turn, and she quietly wonders if she should become Lily's mother. Weiss is shocked by the suggestion, saying she's not that kind of person, which prompts Ziegline to insist that she's not the same as she was in school. Weiss questions if her interest in Lily is purely for research on high elves. He muses that it's natural to be curious about a race thought to be extinct. He tells Ziegline not to push herself, reminding her that being a mother would put her in the position of being his wife, and asks if she has a boyfriend. Ziegline insists her motives have nothing to do with research. She then furiously declares that the reason she doesn't have a boyfriend is because of him. A confused Weiss can only ask me. Ziegline becomes extremely flustered by her own outburst. Weiss tries to defend himself, saying it's her fault she ended up at the Ministry of Magic, but still offers an apology. She angrily declares that it's time for him to pay back all his years of debt to her. With sudden determination, Ziegline approaches Lily. She introduces herself as Ziegline Floyd, and Lily shyly responds with her name. Leaning in close, Ziegline gets straight to the point and asks Lily if she wants a mom. Weiss calls Ziegline a weirdo, telling her it's inappropriate to ask a child such a question so soon. However, the question makes Weiss ponder if Lily is lonely and if he should consider finding her a mother. Ziegline presses on, dramatically asking what Lily would say if she were to become her mother. Lily is left blushing and at a loss for words. Suddenly, Lily runs to Weiss and hugs his leg tightly. She peeks out from behind him and states that she already has her dad, leaving Ziegline stunned while Weiss finds the situation amusing. A heartbroken Ziegline wonders why, and Weiss explains it's because her attitude is scary. He tells the dejected Ziegline that if she can't understand what she did wrong, she won't be able to be a mom. Later that night, as Weiss tucks Lily into bed, she murmurs the word mom in her sleep. This makes Weiss ponder, realizing that she does want a mother after all. Weiss reflects that deep down, Lily really does want a mother. He looks over a school supply list, and Lily asks if she's going to school. Weiss confirms that she is. Lily asks if she'll be going with him, but he explains he's already graduated. She concludes that since he studied a lot, she doesn't have to. After Weiss explains, Lily understands and thinks her dad is cool, which moves him. He reviews the list of necessary magical items for school, which includes a wand, robe, and hat. Pondering what to do, Weiss considers coordinating all her gear with the Bitney brand, which he finds has a nice design. Lily is amazed by the number of people on the street, and Weiss reminds her to be careful not to get lost. She points to a bakery and asks what it is. Next, she spots a shoe store and asks about that as well. Finally, they arrive at a clothing store, which Weiss identifies for her. Lily excitedly calls out for Hollow at the clothing store, but Weiss reminds her that Hollow isn't there. A friendly shopkeeper welcomes them inside. Lily is immediately captivated by the interior of the shop. The shopkeeper asks if they're looking for school robes, and Lily eagerly introduces herself. Lily enthusiastically tells the shopkeeper she's excited for school and plans to study a lot to help her dad. Weiss is visibly touched by Lily's devotion, and the shopkeeper comments on what a sweet daughter she is. The shopkeeper invites them to look around, explaining that as an expert wizard, she makes all the products herself. Weiss finds her voice strangely familiar. An elderly woman appears, chuckling as she asks if he is Weiss. Weiss recognizes the store manager with a start. She asks when he returned without her noticing. Weiss shouts out her name in shock, Esmeralda Sensei. She is Esmeralda Eisenbarth, once known as the most talented magician in the imperial capital and the former teacher of both Weiss and Ziegline. Over tea, Weiss asks if this is her business, noting the lack of her name on the sign. Esmeralda explains she started it for fun and has kept her name off it for 3 years, knowing it would thrive too much otherwise. She adds that if she truly wanted to make money, she would join a major brand like Bitney. The shop assistant is surprised they know each other, and Esmeralda jokes that Weiss is the one who made her drop out of school. Esmeralda calls him a troublemaker who should have been expelled, though Weiss denies it. She clarifies that seeing Weiss's potential made her realize it was time for a generational change and to pass the torch. Meanwhile, Lily gets tangled up while trying on a large robe. The amused shop assistant sees that she needs help. The assistant helps Lily into a robe, telling her she looks great. Weiss watches them for a moment. Esmeralda's expression becomes serious as she reveals she knows Lily is a high elf and asks Weiss what he plans to do. Weiss compliments his teacher's sharp perception, and she agrees she hasn't lost her touch. He explains that Lily is an orphan he is raising as his daughter, with the simple goal of giving her the tools to live independently. The assistant remarks on what a mature dad he is. Esmeralda agrees, then pivots, suggesting that such a girl needs an exceptional robe for her protection. Weiss expresses doubt that a robe can make much of a difference, but Esmeralda clarifies that there isn't much difference for commercial clothing. Esmeralda asks if he truly wants to dress a high elf in the best robe possible. His resolve hardening, Weiss declares he wants to give her the best robe, not just in the world, but in the entire imperial capital. Esmeralda smiles, liking his determination. She tells him that to make such a robe, he must go hunt a crystal dragon. Weiss is taken aback, questioning what a crystal dragon is. She explains it's the hardest creature to hunt, a supreme dragon covered in magic-absorbing crystals, also known as the Mage Killer. Ziegline attempts to force a friendly smile, but her expression remains tense. She asks her maid, Emma, what she thinks of her face, to which Emma replies that she has a very dignified and noble appearance. She remembers asking Weiss if Lily was scared of her because her face was stiff and he had advised her to relax. Weiss explains he'll be gone all day for business and asks Ziegline if she can find him a babysitter. Upon hearing his request, Ziegline eagerly declares that she will do it. Weiss protests that it's impossible since she's busy, but Ziegline insists she'll take the day off. She confidently tells him to leave it to her, boasting that Lily will be calling her mama by night time. As Weiss announces his departure on his modified magic motorcycle, Lily sadly calls out to him. Tearfully, Lily asks if she can come along, promising to behave. A devil on Weiss's shoulder whispers, suggesting he take her with him. Weiss's inner thoughts clash. One side argues he can't bring a child on a dangerous mission, while the other worries about her crying and wants to show off for her. Clutching his head in anguish, Weiss tells himself to bear with it, while Ziegline impatiently asks if he's going to leave. Ziegline attempts a warm smile, but her face muscles twitch with the effort. Lily watches her cautiously while continuing to play with her blocks. The two sit in an awkward silence. Ziegline laments that despite her confidence, she has no idea what to do and knows she isn't the type to be liked by children. She worries that Lily must be scared of her, just like her former underclassmen were. Lily declares that she will draw, grabbing a set of crayons. She concentrates intently on her drawing. Ziegline leans in, noting how seriously Lily is drawing. Ziegline leans closer and asks Lily what she's drawing, guessing it might be a monster. Lily proudly announces that she's finished. She happily holds up the drawing, announcing that it's a portrait of Shiln One-chan. Ziegline's eyes widen with emotion as she looks at the drawing. She asks in disbelief if Lily drew her. Visibly moved, Ziegline thanks Lily, telling her she's very happy. Lily responds with a bright, happy smile. The two admire the drawing together, a new bond forming between them. They head out to a cafe to celebrate. A delicious-looking stack of pancakes is served. Lily's eyes sparkle with delight as she sees the pancakes. She tells Ziegline that it's her first time eating pancakes and they're delicious. Ziegline is surprised, wondering how Lily has never had pancakes before. Lily explains she has only been to 2 shops before and mentions she loves Yahello. Lily happily adds that Yahello is very nice and good friends with her papa. The news shocks Ziegline, causing her to drop her fork. Her mind reels, unable to believe Weiss would have such a relationship. She remembers Weiss telling her he didn't have a wife or girlfriend. She wildly concludes that Yahello must be his ex-wife. Lily explains that Yahello has a clothing store and that her papa is a customer. Relieved, Ziegline realizes it was an unnecessary worry. She then asks Lily where she used to live. Lily replies that she lived in a place called Zenis. Ziegline is stunned speechless by the name. Ziegline is horrified, wondering if the legendary city of villains actually exists. The scene shifts to Weiss riding his motorcycle toward a volatile volcano. His target is a 10-meter-long crystal dragon, whose habitat is the Gina volcano. He knows the dragon's horn is a prime material for wands, making the hunt doubly beneficial. However, its body is covered in crystals that neutralize magic, making it a higher-strength subjugation target. Weiss is undeterred, believing he can win by simply overpowering the dragon's absorption ability with a massive amount of magic. Weiss spots his target, the majestic crystal dragon. He readies his magic, preparing to engage the creature. He conjures a powerful magic spear. With a shout, he launches the attack. The massive spear of energy flies towards its target. Weiss instantly regrets his attack, fearing he overdid it and destroyed the precious materials. His powerful spell is completely neutralized by the dragon's defenses. He looks on, stunned by the outcome. He can't believe the dragon could infinitely absorb magic, taking an attack that could blow away a city. The dragon lets out a defiant roar. Frustrated and panicked, Weiss realizes he is in trouble. Weiss laments that he wanted to defeat it using only magic. He casts acceleration magic to change his approach. The kicked-up debris manages to chip the dragon's armor. He realizes that a physical attack might be able to reach it. He realizes the method is impossible, as the attack barely scratched the creature's tail. He examines the crystal debris that fell from its tail. He is amazed by the fragment's incredible power to absorb magic. Weiss gets an idea. If it's just a fragment, he can fill it with everything he has, laughing as it looks about to explode. With a grin, he notes that, as expected, there are no crystals in the dragon's mouth. He thinks of Lily, telling her to wait for him. He promises to make her a robe so sparkly that everyone will be jealous as he launches his attack. He launches the crystal into the dragon's mouth. A massive explosion erupts from within the dragon, and Weiss watches the aftermath slightly stunned. From a distance, Weiss can only curse the destructive outcome. Back in the city, an exhausted Weiss greets his former teacher. He explains that he hunted a crystal dragon but destroyed its horn, leaving him with only 2 pieces. Esmeralda is surprised he won't sell the super high-quality materials, noting that he doesn't need so many. Esmeralda asks if he has the money to buy them, to which Weiss confidently replies that he does. She suggests that if he wants to sell them for a high price, he should take them to Financier, a brand that would pay a premium for crystal dragon materials for their annual magic dress. The idea of a dress for Lily captures Weiss's imagination. Lily joyfully cries out for her papa as Weiss returns home. He scoops her into a big hug, while a woman with glasses, Ziegline, remarks that he is late and she was worried. Weiss apologizes for the delay and thanks Ziegline for looking after Lily, who replies that it was nothing and she wanted to become friends with the little girl. Weiss asks Lily if she got along with Ziegline, while handing her a souvenir of steamed buns. Lily enthusiastically confirms, declaring she loves Ziegline for letting her have pancakes. Lily excitedly opens the delicious-looking sweets. Weiss comments to a smiling Ziegline that they seem to have become quite friendly. He wonders how long it would take for Ziegline to be called Mama. Weiss reflects on how he cried the first time Lily called him Papa. Their outing takes them into the city. They arrive at Financier's main store. A stunning, luxurious dress is on display. Inside, Lily gasps in awe. Weiss remarks on its opulence, wondering if it's a magic dress meant for nobility. A voice from off-panel asks if it pleases him. An elegant elf introduces herself as Aurelia, Financier's main designer, and asks if Weiss is the one offering rare materials. Weiss introduces himself, thinking to himself that she must be an elf over 100 years old. Aurelia confirms she was the one who designed the dress. Impressed, Weiss offers his materials for the dress, revealing them to be from a crystal dragon. The revelation that the material is from a crystal dragon leaves Aurelia and her assistant speechless. Aurelia is internally stunned by the mention of a super-rare crystal dragon material she has never handled before. She suggests they move to the reception room, while an assistant offers to show Lily the store. Weiss indicates the material is inside his bag. Aurelia asks for permission to inspect it. After confirming the material is real, Aurelia is in disbelief, wondering how he could have obtained it. Weiss assures her it's authentic and offers it free of charge, provided she agrees to his condition. Aurelia is surprised by the offer. His first request is that Financier's next annual magic dress be made from the crystal dragon material. He then mentions there is one more condition. While the adults talk business, Lily has a wonderful time trying on various cute outfits. The shop staff fawns over how good she looks in everything. Lily excitedly shows off her new clothes to her papa. Weiss gushes that she looks like an angel. He then turns back to Aurelia to state his second, more important condition. If she can make the magic dress, he wants her to make a matching one for Lily. Aurelia is taken aback, asking if that's really all he wants, as he confirms his only wish is to see Lily in a dress. Weiss explains that it's no problem, as they don't need much money to live. Lily excitedly asks if wearing the dress will make her a princess. Weiss joyfully agrees, promising that Aurelia will make her the #1 princess in the world. The next day, they travel to a different part of the city. Lily, who has never been to this part of the city, asks her papa where they are. Weiss walks through a ruined city on the outskirts of the capital, wondering why they came here. He explains they are looking for a staff craftsman. Weiss asks Esmeralda if she will make Lily's staff, but she reminds him it's a robe shop and she can't handle a crystal dragon horn. She gives him a map to a craftsman she knows. Weiss is surprised to find he has a piece of the horn, wondering when it broke off. Esmeralda teases him about his cunning tactics in defeating the dragon. Following the map, Weiss and Lily arrive at a dilapidated, worn-out house. Lily comments on its worn-out state, and Weiss wonders if this is the right place. He calls inside, announcing he was sent by Esmeralda. From the darkness within, a voice responds, The man, Romero, emerges, recalling Esmeralda's name with nostalgia. Weiss asks if the man is Romero. Weiss explains he heard Romero is a skilled craftsman and wants him to make a staff, but Romero eyes them suspiciously.